Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast, episode number 353. I'm your host, Jose. Thank you and welcome back. I want to introduce you to our two guests who are coming in from Arizona Helping Hands. It's Matt and Bethany. They were wonderful to talk to, both very interesting and dynamic from where they come from and their backgrounds on how they got into the nonprofit side. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Arizona Helping Hands. And again, you can catch everyone's links in the bios that we always do for everyone and every episode. But if you want to just go ahead and go to our website, you can find every episode available there with the video links, everything connected to it, and it will be the easiest way and easiest route for you to stay connected with us. That being said, if you want to also check out our newsletter and our blog and vlog, because those are all separate, those are all available to everyone who's a fan of us. If you just want to be just a surface level fan, you just want to know who's coming in, that would be the newsletter. If you want to be a little bit more diving deep into the personal side, that is going to be the blog. If you are into YouTube, you want just crazy personal, you want crazy, like not just crazy personal, but just a deep dive into what we do and how we do it, that would be actually our vlog and what we do on our YouTube channel. That is somewhat going to be a amalgamation, a creation of both the podcast and what we do on the personal side. So all of it saying is we have something for you if you want to be a part of our community. And that's what it's about here at Finding Arizona Podcast. We want to build this community for you guys. I've just been going through a lot of editing, a lot of stuff, and I want to apologize again because we have so many nonprofits coming through our doors. It's so I sometimes get confused in the editing process on who's who. And so last week I said Arizona Helping Hands was actually Foundation for Senior Living, but now we're all corrected. Now we're all caught up, where everything's all in order. But I hope this being said is that I just really am appreciative to everyone who comes in through our doors. And as we get bigger and more dynamic and more interesting in the fact that we have more abilities to share with you stories in different ways, that's going to be something we have to search within ourselves and how we go about that. But I just, again, am very grateful, very thankful to everyone who's come in our doors, and we appreciate all of you. And let's get into this very, very fun episode. This is episode number 353 with Arizona Helping Hands. We will catch you on the next episode. Kisses, hugs, and belly rubs. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. As always, we bring in fantastic guests every week, and today is no different. I would love to introduce these two guests in particular, just because it is a very fond moment for me to say that we have another nonprofit through our doors called Arizona Helping Hands. And I'd love to introduce to you, with over 40 years of experience in different categories between the two of them. Bethany is the director of development, and Matt here is actually the director of community engagement. So between the two of them, I'd love to just say thank you and just introduce them together under the umbrella of Arizona Helping Hands. Thank you again for being on the show.
We're so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of bounce questions back and forth. And one of the things that I'm pretty good at with these conversations is just kind of like getting the gauge of the two of you. And I know I've done some research from both ends and both sides of you. So I love this kind of combination because you guys are from different sides of the coast. And I'd love to get perspective and views and understanding of the East and the West coming together here in this organization. So I'd start with you, Bethany, just because I'd love to just kind of get what I'd ask of everyone that comes through our doors. Just kind of give me your origin story and just how your in particular story, how you came to Arizona Helping Hands.
Yeah. So both of my parents are actually helpers. My mom is a retired RN, and my dad is a social worker. And so in my world, you do helper jobs. That's like what feels really good. But coming out of college, I was really good at sales. Really, like that was my deal. And you need a job, so you get one, right? So I got a sales job. And so for years, I was selling office supplies and office furniture and Post-it notes. But on that journey, I worked with a lot of really cool nonprofits and was very lucky to get on the board of the YMCA's of San Diego County. And so I really learned development from being on that board for 8 years. And so at one point I was like, I can't sell Post-it notes anymore, Jose. It was like, I can't do it. It's over for me. Okay. So I went back to school, got my master's degree, and then journeyed my way to Arizona. So I formerly was working with children who have special needs, and got this amazing opportunity to work in foster care. My own parents were foster parents. And so I really don't think that in this particular mission, it takes a whole lot for someone to identify with the needs of our kids, with a kid on a foster journey. Like it doesn't, you just have to have been a kid and imagine what that would be like. And so for me, my heart goes out to them, that feeling of not being uprooted, not having your biological parents in your life, and all of that upheaval. I think we can all identify that with that. Yeah. And so I just feel really lucky to be serving this mission.
Absolutely. And thank you again for that wonderful kind of quick look into your history there. Just a wonderful, just like a scope, and just it's a lot. And I do have some questions, but I'm gonna jump to Matt here for a second, just because I want to get his journey and just what he's been through and how he came to how do I is it Indiana?
Indianapolis.
There we go. That's what I was looking for there.
Yeah.
So tell us your journey and how you came to, joining Arizona Helping Hands.
Yeah. I'm originally from Michigan, and so being here now, living in Flagstaff. So snow is not a new thing to me. In fact, I didn't know snow even existed really in Arizona. And so when, we found that out, we were like, oh, hey, this might not be too shabby.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up in Michigan, and then I found myself down in Indiana for my undergraduate work, and knew kind of from probably about a sophomore in high school, I just kind of felt this call to, as Bethany kind of mentioned, to serve. And so I found myself kind of on that trajectory of moving into the nonprofit space, but on the faith side of the nonprofit tree.
Okay.
And so I had the opportunity to do that for 20 years there in Indianapolis. Met my wife, who's a native Hoosier, and she convinced me to stick around that area. So we were there for 20 years and had the opportunity, like I said, to kind of work on that side of the nonprofit tree, and all sorts of different, really great community partnerships, community engagement, things like that's really a passion of mine. And so my wife is a professor of art. And so when she had an opportunity to teach art here at Northern Arizona University, I was at a point where I had just recently launched a new church, and that was going well and growing. And then we found ourselves in the midst of COVID and kind of working through what that looked like and how to navigate that. And so when the opportunity came to head west, we were like, whoa, what's that about? And so we did kind of a quick whirlwind trip out here to do a little scouting and see what that was like.
Nice.
And we were like, all right, yeah, this seems all right. So I was fortunate enough to then get connected with Arizona Helping Hands, and that opened up some opportunities, not just from the leadership. So we have a new CEO, President Maureen No, over the last, is it 10 months, Bethany? I think something like that. And she's been there. And so she had a very intentional vision of what it would look like for me to kind of do this sort of hybrid sort of work, in particular living in Flagstaff, and also how we're going to build partnerships and relationships throughout the entire state, not just serving Maricopa County, which historically has kind of been the focus of Arizona Helping Hands. And now we had this opportunity and intentionality really on her part to have me here in Flagstaff, but I'm also kind of everywhere. And so having the opportunity to build those partnerships and relationships, and it's been so fun. I mean, it's exciting, the work that we do and that we get to do, but also build the relationships and the partnerships and all throughout the state. And so it's been
great.
Just a really, it's been a joy.
I mean, in particular, how lucky of an opportunity or just the kind of the snowball effect of, meeting your wife, in particular, her journey of like art and letting her passion kind of envelop both of your relationships. My wife and I particularly find what we do here at this podcast kind of it pushes us together closer. It strengthens our relationship as parents. A lot of things that this podcast does and really does. It's an opportunity to build something. So thank you again for sharing both of your stories. And I have so many questions between the two of you, and just the fact that you guys come from so many different places or so many very different locations, but different journeys and how you guys came together. But I'd love to just kind of pinpoint one thing that Matt brought up, was just the kind of pandemic. And maybe I can throw this back to Bethany, being the director of development, and just kind of the pandemic being such affecting every single factor, career, or any kind of individual on every scale. For you guys, especially in particular Arizona Helping Hands, you give us kind of that journey of how it went from the start and where you guys are now, maybe some lasting effects for maybe it's safety protocols or anything in particular that you guys just want to keep in mind and show and share with us today.
Well, so I will share with you vulnerably that Matt and myself did not work at Arizona Helping Hands during the height of COVID.
Okay.
So we both really have started here over the last year.
Okay.
And so, but what I do know about their journey during COVID is that there was a period of time where they legitimately just shut things down, like all of us did, right? Yeah. They were very quick to pick things back up. Wonderful. They pivoted in a lot of ways to try to help make it safe for people to obtain the things that they need. So one of the things I'm aware that they did is they did ship some things. Mm-hmm. So they would ship birthday bags, they would ship beds to people. Like that was still happening. As soon as we were able to get volunteers back in here to help us, create birthday bags for kids in foster care, we established some safety protocol to make that safe for them to do by shortening shifts, limiting the number of people that could be here during a certain time, things like that. And so one of the hilarious things I just learned is that I thought our volunteer shifts were always 2 hours. Like I just thought that's the way it was. And a volunteer shared with me the other day, they used to be 3. And that was a COVID holdover. So, and I'm like, well, let's make them 3 again.
Yeah.
So there are things that are still holding on from that time that we didn't even know.
Oh, it's so interesting. And in particular, too, it's like that kind of, the disconnect comes from just your guys' not being there or part of their kind of shift and what that makes happen. But I love that you guys know and understand that some of these things are because of those factors. And now you're starting to see the bigger picture. I'd love to just kind of get your take on just how you guys are understanding, because for me, as someone who is just hearing stories from just nonprofit sides and just having to shift and pivot, and this is to Matt maybe, and the fact that community development and just the factors that go into those different aspects, whether they be the events or it's just a typical having someone volunteer and stuff like that. Have you seen an increase of, or did you see anything that you, as you came in, change or kind of develop as COVID came to a close or comes to more of a stable?
I think the thing that I think that I noticed was there was a desire for engagement. So people wanted to connect, right? As so many of us, as we found ourselves kind of in isolation. And as that started to kind of open up a little bit more, I think that not only was there a need and a desire for people to be together and connect, but also I think it became pretty acutely aware, or many people came, pretty acutely aware of the needs, either that they had or that were there in the community.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that, now that we're, what are we, 2 years-ish, year-ish.
I would say 2, yeah.
However it works, we are seeing a lot of client engagement, in a way that I think that obviously COVID made that challenging. But the other part that I thought one of the silver linings, I think, in the midst of a tragedy like COVID is how it forces us to get creative and how we have to start to rethink how we do what we do.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun to see kind of the, our client population and engagement certainly has exploded since then, and then beyond, but also some of the learnings of whether it's a shipping model or whether it's some different things, ways that we can continue to serve, more people.
Yeah, streamlining has just been something that we've kind of particularly picked up for the strategies and development and just kind of overall protocols. These are just something that we kind of overall umbrella kind of hear and see. And it's wonderful that you guys are keeping track of those things in particular, just because I don't want to see a backtracking or decline of that, because these are kids we're talking about. These are, the most, vulnerable is the word that I'm looking for in our society. And so in particular, let's just get into maybe with Bethany, the history of Arizona Helping Hands, this coming particularly from the founders and what they believed in, and their kind of what was it that their belief was to do something good without taking credit for it. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yes, no, you had that completely right. The founders really built this entire thing out of their garage. It was a neighborhood toy drive, and that neighborhood toy drive started in '98. And so we are actually now celebrating our 25th anniversary as an organization this year, which is so exciting.
Wow.
And we're not in a garage.
That's really something. 25 years is a big number. So kudos to that.
Yeah. Thank you. And so on that journey, our founders the original mission was much broader than it is today. It covered just how can we help anyone who needs it? And so I think that was really the stance originally. Along the way, and this is how I've come to understand this story, is the founders met some really cool foster families. And these really awesome foster families really shared with them what some of those needs are, that there were huge gaps in service for foster children, specifically around children that come to us in kinship care. So imagine this. It's the middle of the night. A tragedy has happened, and you get a phone call that DCS gives you a call, and they tell you, we need someone to come pick up your two nieces, Yeah. And would you, Jose, be able to have beds and toothbrushes and shoes and pajamas and all of the things that they would need? And the answer is probably, you could probably work on it together, but instantaneously no. And for so many families around Phoenix, that would be a huge burden to them to have to purchase things for these children. And they became aware of that. And one of the really specific things they became aware of was that children were going to live at grandma's, they were going to live at a cousin, and they were having to share whose night it was to get the couch instead of the mat on the floor.
Yeah.
They didn't have beds to sleep in. And that's just not okay with us. And so as an organization, in 2010 through 2013, they decided to focus on foster kids. And in that space, established the Safe Sleep program. And so our Safe Sleep program allows children to come here and get beds, twin size cribs, and everything that goes with it. And now that has exploded. And what it is today is a 20,000 square foot warehouse filled with basic needs and still the toys and still all of the things that they did in the beginning. So everything that we can really think of outside of food that these kids need, we're going to equip that warehouse with and make sure that they get it.
Awesome. Again, what a wonderful piece of history. A foundational piece of just like the thought is we just want to do good, and then to kind of hyper focus and follow their just their who they are as people, and just to see like them then now be introduced into the world of foster care and foster development and kinship. Just to kind of, overall, you could kind of see it. It's kind of a flowing story there. And, each individual member of this organization, including Matt here, because I'll get into it, is extending and reaching out this wonderful story in this organization's message. So I think it's really wonderful that here in the Valley, now we, and Matt can attest now and start to jump in here, is like, there's already a piece that's developed here. How does one now start to expand this message and start to grow the opportunities that are not here in this particular city, but now in the state, and as it grows into a larger thing or a larger organization, how do you keep that and maintain still the message and the culture?
Yeah. And I think it's a great question, Jose, because one of the things that we're really intentional about is our culture, not just with internally, like as a staff team, but also what our mission and our focus is. And so as we continually kind of remind ourselves of that, I mean, frankly, that's part of what kind of compels us to want to grow in order to serve more kids. Yeah. So, we had historically, it's been a model where we have things that you need, you need to come to us to come and get it. That was kind of the model. Yeah. And so just in the last, less than a year in particular, we've really been kind of pushing that to say, we want to start talking about access. How do we create access? How do we remove barriers? How do we get into those communities that are maybe more remote or underserved, or where just resources aren't as readily available? Yeah. And so that's been, I think, a big, to your point about culture, I think our culture, both internally, and then again, how much we value the client experience, as well as a volunteer experience, those who come in and, right, because those are our partners as well, like how we value those experiences and have that be part of our culture. And then that allows us to really be excited about and motivated to really, grow to serve more kids.
That's wonderful. I think that's in particular I guess what the owners would have wanted to generate and populate throughout their lifetime. And so I have very strong feelings that this is a good group of members that are here, and particularly you two. Just from my conversation with you guys, I'd love to kind of pivot towards just what the minutia and kind of get it a little bit more detailed with each of you, and just what you do in particular for the organization. Bethany, can you kind of give us the day-to-day and how this particular big structure and brick and mortar works and functions as a 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are there?
That's a really great question. Historically, this organization has really, and when I say historically, I mean 2 weeks ago, this organization operated it's a scheduled system.
Yes.
Foster families, foster advocates who would come to us on behalf of a child in their care would come to us. They would schedule an appointment online. They would have a secure 45 minutes where they would go back with a personal shopper, which is one of our staff, one of our associates would go back and help them get what they needed.
Nice.
And that was really respectful. We loved the way that worked, but what it was is also really limiting. Mm-hmm. It limited how many people we could serve in a week. And one of the things we observed over time was that our bookings would be booked out 2 months.
Wow.
So that just really spoke to that need.
Yeah.
When we did our holiday toy drive and we put the signups out, it was filled within the week. We put it out one time, and we served 7,227 kids during that time. So if you think about that, it was just the need is so much greater than what this model could really handle. Yeah. And so Matt's team blew it up in the last 2 weeks. and is really trying a new service model, which allows us to do no appointment necessary, walk-ins welcome. Families come in between 9 and noon and 1 to 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. I'm good on that one. Okay, good. All right. I don't want to publicize something that's wrong. Okay. That would be bad. And they can go back and they can shop at their own leisure. And it's doing a couple things for us. One of the things it's doing is helping us see really clearly what our families want, because they're out there picking what makes sense for them. And so we're getting to see what the need really looks like. And shockingly, we didn't even advertise this change, Jose. Like, no, didn't advertise it. We have served triple the amount of kids in this time just by changing this small model.
How much?
There are other programs. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No. Okay, continue. I'll ask after.
Yeah, we have other programs that operate a little bit different. And so I will leave those kind of for Matt to speak into. But this is the kind of main crux of our program here.
Yeah. In particular, as far as like really quickly, just as a group setting and just maybe your in particular meetings, like, does that number scare you or does that number empower you? The triple serving after even not introducing it or publicizing it.
I mean, I don't know what B would say. For me, it gets me super pumped. Like I am ecstatic about the opportunity to serve more kids and meet more needs. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it is, I just get super excited about it. And so I don't know what you would say, Bethany, but for me, it's definitely excitement.
Well, and so Jose, I think I can understand where you're coming from there, because I think that for some, then that level of need would be sobering to be like, oh gosh. Wow. But here's the thing. Matt and I know what the need is. We are very good partners with DCS. We are aware of the scope of this problem. We go into it knowing that, and that troubles us from the beginning. And knowing with the model couldn't serve the 15,000+ kids in foster care across our state. So we needed to break it so that we could. And so that's the reason why I would use the word stoked, because I lived in San Diego for a long time. Yeah. Okay. So I'm using the word stoked. We are like ridiculous excited that without even advertising they're showing up, and that's where we want to be.
I love that. And I love that you guys are in particular stoked about having this opportunity, because for me, I mean, it's again, I'm someone who's, I mean, that number just, it's like, wow, that's a daunting number. But also it's just like also the fact that like my mind expands to, it's like, what did we miss before? What are these numbers are, it's amazing that you're helping, and it's amazing that, but the fact that we missed that many before,
and I think to your point, Jose, I mean, we're still missing them now, right? Mm-hmm. So like that's a model that's in a very specific location in a very specific building. Yeah. And while that number has tripled, which is both sort of like sobering and also exciting that we're serving more kids, that's just those who have the access or the ability to get to us, right? There are thousands of other kids around the state. So like, as Bethany was talking, right, there's really big picture that we can see and we're aware of. Mm-hmm. And so like what we're doing in the Valley is a good chunk of that, is a part of that. Yeah. But we also know like there's a lot of other need out there. And so again, I think it kind of motivates us to, at least I feel like I can speak for Bethany most of the time. We have that good working relationship that way, where I think it motivates us even more so then to like, let's get out there, let's grow, let's find those needs all over the state, and let's go after them and try to serve them.
I love that. And I
would add like one little piece to that. I think the reason why we get to geek out like this is because the culture here at Arizona Helping Hands lets you do that. Yeah. The board hired Maureen No in April of this last year. And she is nothing if she's not super curious about what could be possible. Mm-hmm. And she is always in the background pushing that envelope, reminding us what could be possible. She uses this phrase, imagine the possibilities. We've all heard that like 300 million times at this point, but that keeps it on your mind. And so we are given the license to sort of explore and figure out what works and keep growing in that way. And this one pilot that we started is just the tip of the iceberg on what's to come for Arizona Helping Hands.
I love that. And really pat on the back to you and Matt and your team just to make that opportunity, like to open Pandora's box and let that happen is just really cool and amazing to see and hear. I'd love to just kind of now ask you a little bit more about like, what are you like? Can you give us a little insight on like what the removal of the frequency and allowing you guys to be more trying these things and getting yourselves out there a little bit now that you guys are expanding? What are those things that you guys are doing so that people have more access and have the ability to get to you, especially in particular the non-valley residents?
Yeah, we've been really spending a lot of time talking about it, dreaming about it, kind of, this sort of visioning of like, what would it look like? How do we, and so we've got a mobile unit on the horizon that we're going after to be able. So picture, sometimes I almost describe it as like, picture like a pop-up food truck, but instead it's basic essentials for, the foster community around the state. So, it's being able to get into some of those more remote places and be able to get, create access that way. We've got, we're building relationships with community partners around the state that are saying, yes, we've got physical space that you can keep inventory in to be able to make it easier for, whether that's in Tucson or here in Flag or in Yuma or some of these, key sort of population places that allow us to kind of, again, create some access that way. So those are, I think, some of the more real time right now kind of things that we're working on to establish, more and better access.
I love the mobile unit idea, in particular because I'd be remiss to not ask you this because of you guys are right here in front of me too, and it's on my mind. And I'm native. I'm actually Hopi and I grew up there, and so I'd love to hear kind of like just hearing that mobility access and getting out to those far harder reaching areas. I mean, again, it doesn't get any harder than out there in the Four Corners area, and particularly Navajo and Hopi reservations. And I just would love to kind of hear what type of things that you may have or doing with the culture and the community out there, just because I have you right here in front of me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. We've been really intentional about trying to connect with, the 22 native tribes here in Arizona in a way that's respectful and humble. And I've really approached that with a lot of intentionality, a lot of listening.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough to actually build some really great relationships with some of the social workers from the Navajo Nation, from the Hopi Nation. In particular, I've had the chance to be up there in the Tuba City area, in the Page area, being able to go on some ride-alongs with some of the different social workers and build that relationship, which has allowed better access for what we do. So just getting into that nitty gritty, as you were talking about earlier, like when I'm in the Valley, probably once or 1 to 2 days every 2 weeks or so, if not more often than that. And every time I come back up the hill, I'm reaching out to my northern contacts. In particular, those include Hopi and Navajo Nation social workers, and say, what do you need? I'm coming back up the hill, and
wonderful.
And then it's allowed me to have some really great relationships. And
love that. I know I can hear it like in your story, and just kind of like that back and forth. In particular, that case of like just something about like people don't, or I guess in particular, it's like it's an understanding. It's like in our culture, particularly if you're going down to Phoenix or you're going to town, as they say, it's like as a community member, you want to do as much as you can to help. And so you'll ask your relatives or you'll ask someone close to you. It's like, what do you need? What can I bring back for you? And so that in particular is like, it's meaningful that you know that, and it's meaningful that you have that relationship with your social workers there out there.
Yeah, it's been like I said, it's been a really fun, humbling, beautiful like experience to have as someone who grew up in the Midwest, where obviously Indigenous people are present,
Mm-hmm.
but the prevalence of those cultures are not as certainly nearly as much as here in Arizona.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really meaningful experience for me personally. And I know for us as an organization that we really are committed to going and serving whatever needs, wherever we're welcome to serve those needs. We want to be there. We want to be in those places. We want to be Beth and I started talking about and saying it like, we want to be where they need us, when they need us.
Yeah.
And
that's wonderful. Like I have no like doubt that that's something that is kind of bled through, especially in our conversation right now. I want to ask really quickly here, and I'll ask both of you separately, just because you're both in different regions of Arizona, and this is something that I'd like to ask, particularly every guest who comes through. Right? What have you learned from your particular community? It could be whether it's the northern region like you are, Matt, or it's just kind of in particular just what you've learned from your group, neighborhood or area that you're living in right now. It's like we love hearing what Arizona has to offer. So can you give us what you've learned from your particular Arizona area?
Yeah, I'll let Bethany go first.
Go ahead, Beth.
So actually, I live in the West Valley.
Okay.
So I live out what my son calls the sticks, because there's a farm across the street. So he thinks that's the sticks.
What's the farm called, if you don't mind?
I don't know, but they grow flowers and they're beautiful. But they're also right next to an Amazon. So I mean, I don't know,
Yes, I can now picture where you're at. That's where I'm getting.
Yeah, it's like sticks. Okay.
Yep.
So his version of what that looks like, which is really cute, and shows you where he grew up. But one of the really kind of crazy things is the West Valley exploded over COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those dang Californians moved there during COVID, including myself. And so it's an area that's growing a ton. There's a lot of really cool families out there who just have amazing hearts. It's a really cool community to be in the West Valley. West Valley people don't leave the West Valley, but unless they have to. And that's the rub, is when you get into a new community like that, there's not a lot of services out there. So most of the time you do have to leave for if your child has special needs, or if you're needing some sort of specific medical care, there's not, you've got to head out. Our biggest complaint though, is we are San Diegans, right? So we are foodies. Okay. And all the good food is everywhere else.
Closer to downtown, yeah.
Yeah, but we're getting the VIG soon at Park West, and everybody's really, really excited.
Well, you got to admit too, it's like how intriguing to go and see this desert, something that's not particularly a city or a town, it's just growing and beating. And you can feel the development, you can see it and feel it almost in where you're at. And just kind of, for me in particular, I'm a landscape architect in my day job. So I particularly like to just kind of go out to certain sites and see, just see growth happening, developing happening. You can almost just kind of feel the city breathing and living and just beating. So
you can definitely see that in the West Valley.
Yes,
it is every single day there's something new.
Something different.
The city knows it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd love to kind of get into Matt here, just because in your area, it's smaller, but I love it up there. And there's something about, and particularly because I grew up and going to that was my town. So it's that I grew up going to town to go get our needs, our groceries, our things in that area. And so I recently went back not too long ago, and just to see how much it's developed is beautiful, and and because of the college in particular being growing and developing there. I'd love to hear what you've experienced, especially coming from East Coast, and see the differences between maybe two different views of life, understanding of development, understanding of community. What's that like for you?
It's been really great. We have my family, so it's myself and my wife, and then we have 3 kids that are 8, 10, and 12. And we just moved here in July. Had never been to Arizona before. Certainly had never been to Flagstaff. And so we have just loved it. And now I'm also fortunate that in my role as the director of community engagement, I get to travel a decent amount around the state. And one of the things that's been a learning for me, or a realization maybe, is how incredibly vast and expansive and beautiful this state truly is. Now, I am a homer to the end for Michigan. I love it. It's the best place on earth. Like it's all the things. And I would say, which is not easy for me to say or admit, but Arizona is at least as beautiful as Michigan.
Thank you for that.
And I don't know. Maybe it edges it a little bit. I don't know. I miss some water.
And you know what? That's. I would have to say it's like you got it. Like for you in particular, if you want, like I think the closest thing to you is probably up towards the
kind of like Lake Powell almost.
Lake Powell or Lake Havasu, somewhere up there, and it's just like that's as close as you get. But I mean, like the only way I would ever say it's like we have so much diversity, like sand stuff.
Well, that was going to be my other thing I was going to mention is, so I try to explain it to friends back home, and I say everywhere I look is a picture. Like it's just, I could take pictures all day, whether I'm looking off my back deck, or I'm driving down to the office in the valley, or I'm driving up to Tuba or to Page or out to Williams or Kingman or wherever. It's like everything is so incredibly beautiful, and it is diverse. And the other part that it's been a really fun thing for me and for us as a family is the diversity of the people. Like we came from Indianapolis, which is not a small town. It's not as big as Phoenix, but we're learning that like Flagstaff is a small town. Like, and yes, there's been growth. Some of that growth is getting to the point where there's not a whole lot of other space to keep growing. But it's a relatively small town. But the diversity that we see, even in my kids' schools, with having so many like native tribes even in this region, and the differing cultures and language, like it's all just been this really, really incredibly beautiful, not just like state, but people. Like the diversity is more than I would say really we ever experienced in Indianapolis. And my kids were part of like a very large school district there that had a lot of diversity, but it's, and then like Flag is also this kind of weird town where it's like a place that tourists want to come to. And it's like that last stop before the Grand Canyon. And so like, it's not only do you just see the diversity of the people from the region, but then you could be walking downtown and you hear European languages, you hear Asian languages being spoken because people are here from around the world.
Absolutely.
And so it's been really pretty cool. It's been a cool experience so far.
I love that. Again, in particular, your area is like it's so intriguing to see how much diversity, and the fact that it comes from either transient in the fact that they're traveling, and just, again, it's like there's so many diverse stories and where they come from. And for me in particular, like I get to capture some of those. And I think it's so amazing that you can have a state that has and holds so much, and just, again, like you said, be just as beautiful on the outside that it is on the inside. So, that's how I feel about it. And
I love that you are here and that you bring your positivity, like the way that you look at the world and the way you approach your business and what you do here for the organization. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great that we have people coming in that love what they do, that have passion for their home states, but they find something particularly amazing. That's what I keep hearing from every person who's from out of state. It's like there's something about this state or this area or where, in particular, some cases I hear it's like this moment that I had here in this state that keeps and draws people for longer. And so I love hearing that. And I love having those experiences with you guys because it makes me feel great about where I grow up and where I call home. And so thank you again. So we pivot towards, oh, go ahead.
Jose, I think that's like the crazy thing. So like, it was hard to move here from San Diego.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard to me 9 months to admit I didn't live in San Diego anymore. Okay. Like, so that was a moment for me. Okay. But the people here are ridiculously cool.
No.
And I don't think that like people quite get it. So like we get a special lens at it every day.
Mm-hmm.
So we joke often that Arizona Helping Hands is not an organization, really. It's not a company. It's it's not that. Really what it is a community, because every item that is in our warehouse, and I point behind me because it's behind me. There's this giant warehouse like behind my office, and everything that's in there was there because a person brought it to us.
Wow.
And so when you think about that and think about all the people that pump through here all week long, they're all here. And I think they're all here for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all here because they want to make sure that children know that someone is rooting for them.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know that they want to make sure that love gets to that kid. And we just get to be the conduit of it. And so Arizona Helping Hands is just a subset of the Arizonan community. And we see so many new people through here that have convinced me just over the last, like I started working here in May, that people in Arizona are very cool and they have a heart for children and they want to make sure that all kids win. I mean, we just meet the coolest people and it's always someone new.
I mean, I'm with you on that because again, I'm a person who collects these stories and hears these cool people talk about like they're passionate about it. And to me, that's like, again, it's like they like sometimes people lose that insight. It's like it's not work to them. It's what they're meant to do sometimes. It's like that's what gets me. And in particular too, it's like with the nonprofit side, that's how much I like tear up and I choke up thinking about how many nonprofits have come through here with just like passionate individuals who just, it's what they're meant to do. It's what their life's purpose is, so to speak. And that's something that I'm very particularly fond of and very appreciative that they share that with us. So again, I appreciate you two for coming in and sharing as much as you guys have today. And I pivot towards the future and just kind of look towards what's to come. And I'll kind of jump back to Matt here. Can you give us some look towards the future? I say events or things in particular that you have in store for Arizona Helping Hands that is always the key components for development or key areas that you guys do or have or participate in to help keep you guys afloat.
Yeah,
break down all the services, basically.
I was going to say I can talk from a service or program standpoint as we look for into the future of just, as I mentioned. I think one of the big things that we've gotten a ton of momentum behind, and when we talk to individuals like yourself or other community partners throughout the state or even around the nation, frankly, I had a meeting yesterday with a national brand and talking about the mobile unit. And that thing in particular, that idea, that vision, that project, as we get closer to having it come to fruition, has been one that has generated so much excitement, and I really do think will be a game changer for us as an organization as we kind of move into the future. Of course, we have our Birthday Dreams program. That's a really cool program. I think we talk a lot about a wow factor. I think that's one of our wow factors as an organization where, a foster family, kinship family, a caseworker, a group home can go on our website. They request a birthday bag, give us some information about the child. And then Bethany and her team just have an awesome way of providing and making sure that we have volunteers every day. I mean, we have countless volunteers coming in and out of our facility every day there in the Valley. And they'll build these birthday bags that are specifically curated for that child. And, and then we're able to get that to a, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 15-year-old, whatever the case might be. And with 5 brand new wrapped gifts, that can range everything from a bike to toys to gaming systems. I mean, we're just so fortunate to have some really, really awesome partners that help to make, a program like that happen. We've got our back to school, we do a big back to school push, that we're excited about some different things about how do we expand that in order to serve those upper high school age kids and even college kids. Mm-hmm. And how do we really support them with what they need? And whether that's, we've been working on an initiative of putting together some STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, some of those kind of back to school kits for some of those, students. And so, those are kind of the things I would mention. I don't know, what else would you highlight, Bethany?
That's awesome.
I would say, the way I'm kind of understanding your question is to say a little bit, where are we headed and where do we need the community?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that from you, especially from the engage development side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this push of how do we get all of these amazing items, whether it's a birthday bag, whether or not it's clothes, it's shoes, it's diapers, it's wipes, or toys, or a bed, whatever it is that they need. How do I get it to that child when they need it, where they need it? And that is, Matt is speaking about the mobile unit. Well, we do have a lot of excitement around the old mobile unit. We don't have the money for the mobile units. And so this year during the tax credit season, that's what we're up to.
Yeah.
So when people are donating to our website at azhelpinghands.org, that money is going to go toward helping make that program happen.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a huge push for it for Arizona Gives Day this year,
awesome,
where we need to raise $225,000 because we got to get, Matt is delivering this stuff out of his van right now. He has like this adorable van and he's hoofing it across the state, and that is just not going to cut it. So we got to get the man a mobile unit.
Exactly.
So that's where we need some help.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love, in particular for Arizona Give Back Day, I would love an opportunity to have, I'm coming up with a thing in my head, but I'll reach back out to you guys. I'd love to have you guys back and just kind of have an opportunity to share what you guys are looking for and like help during that time for you guys and help with marketing and advertisement and get you guys a little bit more eyes, so to speak.
We would super appreciate that. We need all the help that we can get.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We're excited.
I'm excited too, because this is something in particular, like if it's the one thing that I could do and just like, I love volunteering. And we spoke about I think my mom volunteered for this organization I think that in particular, when it comes to kids too, I'm a new dad. And so when it comes to the children, thank you very much. When it comes to like development and children too, it's like, there's no better time than right now, especially for me as a parent. Just like, I want to help kids and children of all shapes and sizes in every way possible, whether that's through development or through the opportunities like this. Again, my door is always open for you, in particular, because it's like, it's important to me. It's important to again, it's like, these are our future. These kids are our future, and giving them hope and giving them a chance to be loved and cared for is 100% in my purview and 100% what I stick up for. So, okay, let me move our conversation to then now moving towards the just having you guys take us towards the end here and let us know of any last events that you want to just tell people about, or just give them information on how they can donate. This is your chance to promote. I would say let's let Matt do it because he is community development, but I don't know who has more ties to knowing what the social media handles are. So I'll let whoever wants to do it.
So I'll take that one for Matt because
Okay.
I am the director of development, but that also means that I do all of our marketing and I'm in charge of that as well. So I'll take that one.
Awesome.
Maybe we should have told you that earlier and that would have been helpful.
Be fine.
This push toward helping us get to kids when they need us, where they need us, that's our big push right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have an additional push happening so that if you're a business owner and you want to sponsor the birthdays of I'm sorry, I'm cracking up because your wife is fine.
She is trying to feed the cat, so I apologize.
I'm trying to herd the cat.
It's totally
amazing.
I love it. It's awesome.
This our studio, I should say, that was called Two Cat Studio. We got a dog, so now it's Two Cats in the Dog Studio.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Beautiful.
They have no understanding of privacy, so I apologize for that.
Oh,
you don't need to apologize.
That's great.
It was awesome.
Love it.
Totally fine.
If there are business owners out there that would love to become a sponsor of our birthday program, you could be the sponsor of the month for all the birthdays. Matt's team does close to 300 birthdays a month on average. And what some of the struggle is at times is that, especially for teens, who knows how to shop for a teen? No one does. Okay. No one knows. I have a 15-year-old. I don't know how to shop for him either. I get it. Okay. So what we end up is when we do a teen bag, I'm so sorry, but they used to be kind of lame. Okay. There was a kid who actually gave us a thank you card that said the favorite thing in the bag was a duffel bag. And that broke my heart. Okay.
It's the bag
I can't handle that. He was like, I really like the duffel bag. And that made me want to totally cry. And so what this sponsorship program will do is, of course, it comes with all these really awesome marketing benefits, team builders for people, for your team, et cetera. But what it does is it gives us those finances so that we can go out and get cool gifts for the kids so that nobody is getting a lame present for their birthday. A lot of the times, this is the first birthday gift they've ever received. And so we need to bring it. Okay. We need to really bring this birthday gift. And so we need your help. And so we're looking for those birthday sponsors. We need one for every month. And if anyone wants to learn more about that, just email us over at development@azhelpinghands.org.
Okay.
Follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and secret sauce. Next week, we launch TikTok.
Nice.
And so all of those handles are at azhelpinghands.org. or at AZ Helping Hands. And then our website is azhelpinghands.org. So come check us out. And if you just want to come check out what we're doing, email us come take a tour. Our work is really fun. We give babies toys, for goodness sakes. Check it out.
Come on. Yeah. What's wrong with that? Again, I have no doubt that you guys, in particular, in each of your, what you guys do, like Matt, I can only imagine the places that you see on the road, kind of the stories of you on the road, just like things that you probably run into and stuff like that. I thank you both for what you do for your organization and what you do for those kids. In particular, just like, again, the joy that you probably get just from seeing a smile or something like that probably fills you up inside. And again, continue on in your journey. And I wish and hope nothing but the best for you guys. And if there's anything I can do for you, please, my door's always open. And I'll end our conversation by doing my little spiel here at the end. You can find every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us. So everything under social media is under Finding Arizona Podcast. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Last but not least, if you'd like to be on the show or like to contact us or, want some information, findingarizonapodcast@gmail.com is where you will go and send in line And last but not least, we always say kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. As you could have heard in the last 5 minutes, they are always around, and we love them as always. So we will see you on the next one. Thank you for joining us.